Good morning and welcome to the 21st year of King High School Remembers. I'm John Corona, the project coordinator, and it's my honor to welcome all of you to today's activities. It's a different type of King High School Remembers that you're going to see today, starting with the fact that we're coming to you on a virtual platform due to COVID-19. It's certainly not the King High Remembers that we're used to. However, we have been able to retain a great number of the programs, traditions, and cultures, and I am sure you will enjoy what we have to present to you today. At this time, I would ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after the pledge, please remain standing for the national anthem and for a short ceremony of remembrance.
Hello everyone, I'm Cadet Lieutenant Commander Pearson, and I'm the Commanding Officer for Martin Luther King High School, NJROTC. Will all covered military personnel in uniform please render a salute, and uncovered assume the position of attention. Will all civilians please place their right hand over their heart and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you to all the veterans who served our country, and thank you for being a part of King High Remembers.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is King High School Remembers 21st year. And over that time, we've had the great fortune of having over 1,000 veterans share their stories with our students. Unfortunately, with each year, we are losing these vets to the rigors of time. And this year has been no different. You will see pictured here a table dedicated to the memories of 13 King High School Remember veterans who have gone on to the final roll call over the past year. And it's dedicated to the memories of the close to 300 men and women who have gone before them. They were men and women who served their country in time of war and their communities in time of peace. I would ask for a moment of silence as I read the names of the most recently departed. When I'm finished reciting those names, we will hear the playing of taps. I ask as we remember them, we remember those who never came home, and that we remember the King High School graduates who are in the field today representing the United States of America. Admiral Alan Hill, U.S. Navy. Gene Rasmussen, U.S. Navy. Edward Worth, U.S. Navy. Al Diaz, United States Army. Royce Simon, United States Marine Corps. Kurt Ferguson, U.S. Navy. Columba O'Gorman, United States Navy. Arlo Guard, United States Marine Corps. Richard Duckworth, United States Air Force. Howard Hart, U.S. Navy. Calvin Randall, United States Marine Corps. J.D. Andrews, United States Navy. And Carla Thornton, United States Air Force. Thank you, and be seated. At this time, I wish to introduce Mr. Michael West, principal of Martin Luther King High School.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. King High Remembers is one of, if not the best event Martin Luther King High School puts on each and every year for a couple of different reasons. First, from an educational perspective, our 11th grade students get the opportunity to meet with and learn from an armed service veteran and to get to know the ins and outs of an individual military experience. These interviews and subsequent assignments provide a tremendous opportunity for students to gain a firsthand insight and perspective on American history. King High Remembers also provides our local veterans with a safe place to share their memories and experiences, and in some instances, show off their military swag. Many veterans have thanked us for this opportunity, as it provides an outlet for them to cull through their memories and in some instances, deal with their emotions. What a great way to honor and serve our local servicemen and women. To put an event on such as King High Remembers takes many hours of meetings and planning among our social science department, coordinated support from our administrative team, participation from many other school programs and individuals, and finally, support from our school board and district office leadership. I would like to individually thank the members of our Riverside Unified Board of Education, Board President, Mr. Tom Hunt, Board Vice President, Mr. Brent Lee, Board Clerk, Dr. Angela Farouk, Board Member, Mrs. Kathy Alavi, and Board Member, Mr. Dale Kinnear. I would also like to thank our wonderful Superintendent, Dr. Hanson, for all of his support. There are two individuals on our campus, though, who are most responsible for King High Remembers, and without whom this program just would not exist. First, the current lead organizer and backbone of the program, who puts in countless hours of organizing, communicating, and preparing, and whose leadership style is just simply invaluable. That is Ms. Jalen Barnard. And finally, the man who began this program 21 years ago as a modest class assignment and has turned it into one of the premier events of its kind in the country, Mr. John Corona. Thank you both for all of your dedicated leadership and service throughout the years. This time, I would like to introduce the President of the Board of Education for the Riverside Unified School District, Mr. Tom Hunt.
Over the past 21 years, Martin Luther King High School has been able to put students face to face with history. While it has been called the best history lesson in the Inland Empire, King High Remembers is also a program that serves its community. It builds a relationship between local veterans and students through conversation and storytelling. It celebrates the stories and histories of those who live among us, the ones that have served and they continue to serve their country and community. Each year, Coach John Corona and the Martin Luther King Social Studies Department creates something we should all be proud of, and this year is no different. While there's no sea of tables decorated in red, white, and blue, this year they've been able to bring you personally to the table. And while different, the magic that this program creates and produces does not end. Hopefully this year's event will still serve as a reminder to us all to reach out to others around us, to find different ways to advance connections and to motivate ourselves to do more in our communities, and all when we're safely able to go back and do so. Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." I hope that you will leave this event today like you would have if you were in person. Inspired, willing to serve your community, and wanting to do more for others. If I may, personally, and as a son of an Air Force officer, as a military brat, I thank all the veterans for not just being here today, but for their national service to this country and our existence. Take care.
Again, welcome to King High School Remembers. It's been a long, challenging road to get here today. Throughout the course of discussion and planning, we were never quite sure we could pull this off. But there was always the determination that we had to do something to keep the program going, to keep it from fading away. We needed to build a bridge to the day where we could be back in the gym together, face to face, hand in hand. The presentation you'll see today is a result of that determination. The major change today is that instead of interviewing 300 veterans, we're going to be introducing one veteran. Our interviewee today is Medal of Honor recipient Captain Florent Groberg of Task Force Mountain Warrior, 4th Infantry Combat Team, 4th Infantry Division. Though the interview will center around the action in Afghanistan on August 8th of 2012, for which he received the Medal of Honor, you're going to find that there's much more to Captain Groberg than what took place that day. And now it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Captain Florent Groberg, who will be interviewed by Senior Josh Alejos and Juniors Michaela Goodman and Sophia Whetstone, who will also be incorporating questions sent in from the King High Junior class.
I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for being here today and for being willing to talk to us. We're just honored to have you. So can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, first of all, Josh, I'm honored and humbled for the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you and the school and the students and the staff and faculty. These are like I mentioned earlier in our conversation, that this is what makes my day. There's a lot of meetings, but the opportunity to share some thoughts with everybody here is amazing. But background, I was born in France. I came to the United States when I was about 11, 12 years old. I didn't speak a lick of English. I'm adopted. And so I feel like there are a couple of words in my life that resonate with me. And, I'm lucky and I'm blessed. I'm lucky that a guy from Gary, Indiana decided to, go out on a date with my aunt, who became my mother, who adopted me, and that he decided to bring us to the United States. So, my life has been about change. It's been about evolving. It's been about adapting. It's about experiences, some really good ones, some bad ones, but everything gives me an opportunity to better myself and really to learn a little bit more about myself and challenge me in different perspectives and different ways. But came to Chicago, moved a year later to the DC area in Maryland, was in Eastall English as a second language in 8th grade. Don't know how I actually made it through 8th grade. I asked that question to myself a lot because I was in English as a second language for English, but then I was with all the other students in all the other classes. So history, math, I don't know how I communicated, but it forced me actually to adapt a lot faster. And I was in regular English in 9th grade and AP English I was in AP English my senior year. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a background that I was lucky enough to be surrounded by great teachers, great peers in high school. That really paved the way for me to be successful in my education going forward. Mr. Corona, John, you're my type of guy because I was a big track athlete. Mr. Rogers and Mr. Marr, two of my coaches in high school, were at my wedding. So I ended up going to University of Maryland. I ran track and cross country for Maryland for 4 years. And then following my time at Maryland, I decided to enlist in the Army. And so I think I'll probably stop there, Josh, because I'm sure there'll be some questions on why I enlisted in the Army. So I'll get into that probably throughout the conversation.
One of the questions that were sent in were from Hannah Medina, and she asked, what made you want to go into the military, and how did your family react? And were you nervous, or were you having any second thoughts?
First of all, I think I'm clairvoyant because that was obviously the second question. No, so I'll answer this. When I was young, I was 12 years old, something terrible happened in my family. I had an uncle of mine, probably my favorite, person in my life, aside from my parents, was killed by terrorists in Algeria. So this is in North Africa. And so that at an early age, I sort of became in tune with the evil in our world, and it shaped my mindset and my future already. At that point, I knew that I wanted to join the military. I was 12. Of course, you go through, middle school, high school, and things changed a little bit, track and field. But when I got to college, my plan was to just go to college and do ROTC, run track. But I couldn't do that. You couldn't run, Division I sports and also do ROTC. And I worked on the side too, and go to school. So I focused on track and field and worked. And then I knew that I could go to officer candidate school after the military. But I for 100% knew what my path was after 9/11. I was a freshman in college. I'd just been naturalized as a U.S. citizen 7 months prior. And here in my new country, my adopted country, the same type of individual that terrorized my family were terrorizing, my brothers and sisters. And so at that point, it cemented my path mentally. And I knew that this was what I wanted to do as a profession. It became my life, in essence, of my life goal. Family-wise, my mom was in the Army. My dad was in the Army. Every male in my family pretty much is in the Army. My cousin is getting out of the Army in France right now. So it was a logical route for us. And the fact that I was doing it because I wanted to, do some good in the world, it helped. Of course, it scared everybody a little bit because that's just the nature of the situation, but they were proud of me.
We understand that Medal of Honor recipients risk their life beyond the call of duty in actual combat against an armed enemy of the United States. Would you mind telling us about the event that led to you receiving that honor?
Sure. So this was my second tour of duty overseas in Afghanistan specifically, and this happened in 2012. During that tour, I was running a very specialized security team. So you can think of like Secret Service, probably seen this in movies, the people that protect like the president or the vice president, they're always around that individual. And something goes wrong. Like you've probably seen this in movies. They jump on top of them and they protect them and take them away to safety while everybody else, secures this site. That was what my team specialized in, except we did it all across Afghanistan, multiple different provinces, and the enemy was very active. And so I had a team of 6 specialized individuals who were really, really, really good warriors. And over the course of that tour, that year, we, every single day, we flew in helicopters to some remote place in Afghanistan to go meet with either U.S. military or partner military or local Afghan leadership to kind of conduct the business, right? A lot of the work that the boss was doing was, creating relationships with the local Afghan government and their military to make sure that when we do leave Afghanistan, they have a stable country. Unfortunately, the enemy over there, specifically Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Haqqani Network, ISIS, all those, what I would consider really bad individuals had a different plan for us. So there was always a risk. And on August 8, 2012, we were going to the Kunar province for a provincial security meeting with the governor of Kunar. And during that patrol and that mission, we flew in helicopters, we landed at a military base, and then we had to walk outside the base to the Afghan governor's compound, which is about 1,000 meters, right? 1,100 meter movement. And we had done this multiple times. That area was pretty secure. Like it was probably one of the safest places in all of Afghanistan, to be honest with you. And unfortunately, 700 years into the movement, they saw us as an opportunity, as a target opportunity. And they decided to engage us with suicide bombers. And the way they attacked us is they created a diversion. They had a motorcycle with 2 individuals on a motorcycle driving as fast as they could towards our patrol as we were walking, which unfortunately forced my team to fixate at the motorcycle because obviously it's a threat. In the meantime, there was an individual that's probably, I would say ranging from 16 to 20 years old that came out of a building. And with a vest, and the whole point was he was trying to get as close as possible to the middle of our element to detonate and kill everybody. And we had 24 soldiers and civilian aides on the ground. Luckily, because of the help of one of my guys who turned around to look at me when the motorcycle came, and he started looking to my left, which forced me to look to my left. I saw the threat, and at that moment, the only thing I could think about was, Well, I need to make sure that I, eliminate this threat as quickly as possible, and keep that threat as far away as possible. So at that moment, I started to run towards the individual. No, I couldn't see a weapon on him. So I did not know if that person was carrying a weapon, and I couldn't engage him with my weapon because you just don't do the things like that, right? And so the only thing I could think of was like, well, if I go towards him, I'll figure out if he has a weapon. And he started moving a lot faster towards us. So I sprinted towards him. I said a couple words to him to get his attention. He didn't react. He never looked at me, always looked past me, which, creeped me out a little bit. And as I got closer to him, I hit him with my rifle. And when I hit him, I realized he was wearing something in his chest. So then I grabbed him. And that's when I realized he was wearing a suicide vest. And at that point, you just follow your training. And my training in that case, though, you never really rehearse throwing a suicide bomber. You do rehearse the idea of keeping your team safe. And so the only logical sense and act at that moment for me was to throw him as far away as possible from everyone and to cover him, cover my body on top of him. So I threw him, and when he landed on the ground, he let go of a dead man's trigger, which means that he had pressed the trigger when he started walking towards us. And then when his hand hit the ground and he let go of the trigger, he detonated. I unfortunately lost 4 of my friends on that day: Command Sergeant Major Griffin, Major Gray, Major Kennedy, and Reggie Abdel Fattah. They were almost 20 to 30 feet away from the bomb, and the guy detonated at my feet, and I lived. So for the next couple of months of my life, I went through some really dark times, emotionally, spiritually, obviously physically, to try to recreate the scenario and understand why I lived when a man that detonated 50 pounds of homemade explosives at my feet threw me 20 feet, but I lived. But 4 of my friends who were nowhere near were all killed by the shrapnel and the ball bearings. But I received the medal because of that act. But reality is that, it's very uncomfortable to be singled out for an act in the military, because nothing that you do is about you as an individual. It's always about the team. And every single individual on that team, on that specific patrol, played a very pivotal role for that outcome. And even though we were at our best, the way we reacted as a unit was textbook. We still lost because we lost 4 of our friends on that day.
A second question I have for you from a student question is Caleb Anderson from Miss Barnard's class, and it said, how do you feel about receiving this honor? Which I know you were kind of answering, but.
Well, it's a great question, Caleb. And I will tell you this: when I received it, I felt ashamed. I felt shame. I felt like a fraud because, I stood on this massive stage with some of the top leadership, in this country, military-wise and government-wise. I think there's 300 reporters in a room, and it's President Obama to my left talking about me. And I remember thinking that I was a fraud, that I failed on that day. And to this day, I always, that is just the outcome that I have in my head is I failed. I was in charge of patrol. I was in charge of, bringing everybody home, and 4 did not come home. So 4 families have to live with the consequences of those actions on that specific day. And here I am being highlighted as a hero and celebrated, while 4 families don't have a loved one with them. And that to me was unsettling. It was uncomfortable. It felt wrong, but I understood. I understood later on. One, the families came to the ceremony. They were asked to stand up and recognize, and the entire crowd, clapped and showed their appreciation and honor to those families. But I also understood that the medal that's right behind me, that I actually don't like to wear. It's just, it's not mine. I'm a courier of it. It represents them. It represents their families. So, every medal has a story. The big story is the United States of America and the brave souls that serve our nation and put on a uniform, and all those who support those individuals. The second story behind each medal is a story of what happened on a specific day. And for me, on that specific day, the 4 heroes are Griffin, Gray, Kennedy, and Reggae. And not me, not Mahoney, not Balderrama, not Secor, not Brink, not Ochart. It's, not Mingus, not Walraff. It's those 4 individuals who never came home, and their families have to carry that pain for the rest of their lives.
I have a question for you now. Dylan Kells, he would like to know, how have you changed as a person after the events that awarded you the Medal of Honor?
I have not changed, and that's probably the biggest change, right? And I think that's something that my wife and I, we were dating at the time, and I remember walking out of the White House and all the cameras on you, the interviews. I mean, we did hundreds of interviews, right? I mean, because I speak French, I did interviews in French, all sorts of crazy stuff, stories, and people want to highlight you. And I remember telling my wife, I'm like, just please make sure that I never change who I am. And if you see me start going toward that path, like rewire me really quickly. And she has a few times where I started, getting a big head of like, I don't want to do this. Like, why do I have to talk to this group? And she'd be like, shut up, Flo. Like, who are you? Just this is your duty and you need to do this. So I have not changed. And I think that's what I would have to say, if I had to give us one pat on the back, and that's what I hear from all my family and my friends and the people that I work with. I work a full-time job. I could be on the speaking circuit, making a lot of money and just tell my story over and over and over and again. I could be doing Hollywood, all sorts of stuff. Some people do, but that's not me. I work a full-time job. I'm still mission-centric, meaning that I want to be part of an organization and team that is still serving our nation. I have a dog and a cat, my wife, we watch Netflix, we hang out. I get an opportunity, but where I'm different today is I get an opportunity to do this with you, right? Where I can share some of my thoughts. And so to me, this is like the celebrity aspect of it, where I get to really share some stories with some brilliant people in the future generations of our nation. And I get to, I get to tell you about my good, my bad, and my lessons learned. And, you can hopefully you take something out of my story that potentially helps your story, and then you get to pass it on later on in your own ways to others. So nothing. It's the cool part, right? So always be true to yourself. No matter what is provided to you or given to you or how people want to highlight you, you always need to be true to yourself.
James Avila from Miss Jimenez's class asked, what led you to put your life on the line for others in the way that you did? And did you ever think you would receive this kind of commendation?
So I'm going to start with the latter question, which is no. I never even thought about Medal of Honor in books and movies. You kind of you don't think about the medal. You don't think about awards in the military. If you do, you're probably in a wrong job, and people will quickly notice that you're a ribbon seeker and searcher, whatever it is, and no one wants to fight with you because you're a liability. So it's the truth, specifically in war. But so no, I never even thought about the medal. So when I received the medal, it was very shocking. Like, what? Like, I'm part of the WHO, Audie Murphy group, Doolittle. No, you guys are crazy. I thought they were out of their minds. I still think they're out of their minds. That's why I wrote a book called 8 Seconds of Courage to highlight, an immigrant, right, and the opportunity that this country has given me, but really highlight the people I serve with. Every chapter is about an individual that changed my life to get me to where I am. So people truly understand that it never happens on your own. There is always someone there to guide you and pick you up, right? And there's always lessons learned. But the book's called 8 Seconds of Courage. It's a joke, because in 8 seconds I became this nobody to I can possibly tell you, what foreign policies are in UK according to the news, and I can probably tell you what the weather's going to be like tomorrow in North Dakota, right? Just because a medal gives you all this knowledge, supposedly. It's comical at sense. But the best question here is, what got me to put my life on the line? And I think it's simple answer. It's love. It's love for brotherhood and sisterhood. I went to avenge my uncle. I went to avenge 9/11. I wanted to, eliminate and eradicate all these terrible souls in this world that want to create so much evil. But in the end, what I realized and learned from my military time, specifically my combat time, is this word love is so powerful. It's beyond my relationship with my wife. It's beyond my relationship with my parents. It's the idea that you love someone so much that you are willing to die day in, day out, night in, night out for them, and that they're willing to do the same. And it's so powerful, because that is what gets you through the really tough time. Believing in each other, being there for each other. People that you've probably known for 6 months, 8 months, right? People who are black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, atheist, straight, gay. Nothing matters that moment. What you are as an American, what you are as a teammate, and what you are is willing to die for each other. And I think that's where the military is different than any other organization in the world. It forces people to be uncomfortable, to be in an uncomfortable setting, and it forces them to love each other and trust each other in ways that they never thought would be possible. And so I always, I looked at our country has been very divided over the course of the last few years. And I always look at the military to try to paint an example. And I remind some of my friends who are sometimes joining the division, and I remind them that, remember when we were in the service, when we were in Afghanistan, that person, that's a Democrat. That person, that's a Republican. We played cards together. We played video games together. We fought together. We bled together. We were willing to die for each other. So what's changed? And it kind of brings it back to the, sort of like to the table, like, I don't know. And what changed is the will to have a conversation and listen to each other. We were forced to do that in that setting. And guess what? We found common ground. And so to me, that is the beauty of why you're willing to put your life on the line, is because you get to learn and know each other and trust and love each other.
I have another student question for you, Mr. Groberg. So Rachel Larac asks, what was going through your mind during that moment that led you to receive the Medal of Honor? And if you had any hesitation about it?
Hesitation? No. What I didn't think about the consequences of what my actions were going to be. I just thought about my job. The beauty about the military is that they train you to be reactive in these very difficult situations. You do things over and over and over and over again. It's so boring, so annoying. You're like, I've gone through how to clear a house 1,000,000 times. Why do I got to do it again? So that when you're put in a situation where you don't have time to think, your body and your instincts will take over. And that's what happened. In that case, I saw a threat, I felt it, and just my body and my mind just were one unit, and it just went towards the threat, and I just did my job. I didn't stop to think about the consequences. I didn't stop to think about, what should I do? I just knew that at that moment I had to do something, and I was committed to it. And so it eliminated, the hesitation aspect of that reaction. And that's what's so special about what we do in a way. And I've taken that lesson and sort of transported that into my corporate/personal life today, which is, if I feel like this is the right thing to do, I need to trust myself and I'm going to go do it. And I cannot be scared of the potential fallbacks or outcomes, right? If I truly have worked hard to go for something, I need to trust myself if I feel like it's the right thing, and I need to go do it. And if I fall on my face, well, then it's probably a lesson to learn from that. And I just get back up and I don't make the same mistake, but it's going to make me a better person in the end.
A second student question that I have for you is Kayla Pollard from Miss B's class. She said, after everything you've gone through as a soldier, what motivates you not to give up and keep going?
I think it's I went through some really difficult times, obviously, in Walter Reed Hospital. I had moments very, very close where you wanted to give up. I was so angry at myself. I was going through survivor's guilt. I was on some heavy medication to deal with my injuries. I lost a little bit piece of my left leg and left and left ear, and I had a pretty bad traumatic brain injury, which is a great excuse now with my wife. And the hearing is gone, left ear. It's a great excuse. But for a while it was actually a little scary. I tell you what, I'm a hypocrite, because I used to judge people when I was in the military who had post-traumatic stress issues. I used to tell them, I saw some pretty terrible things in war, and I never lost a second of sleep. And so I couldn't put myself in their shoes, right? To people who haven't seen nowhere near what we saw, but they had a lot of issues coming home. And so we used to judge them. I'd be first one here. And so when I went through that myself, I started to realize how difficult it was to deal with the demons in my own head. And I started to understand that not Al-Qaeda, not ISIS, no Taliban, nobody has been stronger and tougher for me to deal with than my own demons in my own head, my own brain. I felt like such a hypocrite, because now I was seeking support. while I was the one that was judging the people like me. And it's just life, right? You need to be honest with yourself. And I'm, to this day, very honest about the person that I was prior and how I used to judge people. And then when that happened to me, I understood, the reality behind that and how different and very, personal it is for every one of those individuals who are going through those tough times. But you see, I had a good support system around me. I had individuals like Travis Mills, who's a quadruple amputee. An IED blew up in April of that same year and lost all 4 limbs. And he came into my hospital room when he had heard that I was very angry at the world and angry at myself. And he rewired me in a way. And 15 minutes, he changed my entire perspective. In 15 minutes, he reminded me that I had taken an oath to serve my nation. And that I now had a responsibility to be, a good person for those brothers who didn't come home on my day. And that I still needed to be sort of a guiding light for others, like he was trying to be, and like others had been for him. And so he gave me a purpose again. And that to me, changed my life. And it gave me a purpose to go out there and be able to open up about my vulnerabilities, about my dark times, about my thinking process, and to tell others that it's okay to go through that. We're human beings. And to finally understand that it doesn't matter what your specific injury is. It could be losing all 4 limbs, or it could be losing a calf, or it could be losing hearing, or your hands, or your eyesight. Everything is so personal. So I'll never be able to truly understand what Travis is going through or what others are going through because it's so personal. But I can understand one thing is that I'm here to listen and support to the best of my ability. But I will never tell them that I understand what he's going through. So these were big moments for me that helped me get through some very, very difficult moments. And today, it motivates the heck out of me to be able to share those and try to potentially provide, a listening ear, since I have only one good one left, for others.
This isn't my actual student question, but what do you think we can as students do to serve our country and community?
This is open up a door when someone's walking through it. Say thank you. Say, be respectful to each other. That's how it's so simple. We listen to each other. Go find someone that potentially over the course of the last 4 years in high school that you just disagreed with, you didn't like, and try to just go introduce yourself and be like, hey man, or hey, if whoever, and be like, listen, I'd love to I'm Josh. How are you? Get to learn someone else. Be open to having a conversation with someone that doesn't think the same way that you think. And I think that's a start. We need to go back to the foundation of being good people. And the foundation starts with being able to listen to people, to others who have potentially different perspective with different backgrounds, and have a conversation, a productive conversation. It's on you. I mean, I know you probably hear it all the time, you're the future, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I got that. I remember those things, but it's the truth, right? I'm trying to hold my generation and my peers, and I'm trying to learn and grow as an individual, right? But I'm 37 years old, which means just blink of an eye, I'm going to be 50. And then people are going to be like, you're really you're disconnected. It's ridiculous, right? But it moves fast, but you do have an opportunity to really guide us in that, as your generation grows and becomes our leaders, right, to do the right thing. And I think it starts with just having the basics, listening to each other, having a conversation, going back to opening the door and saying good morning. I mean, my goodness, we are so disconnected because, I work for Microsoft, so, I'm all about the technology, but these things disconnect us so fast and so much that we don't even understand how to be members of society anymore, aside from social media. And, we don't know how to talk to each other anymore, right? And so these sessions right here, these opportunities where we get to look at each other, maybe not in person, but at least, through technology, of course. Yeah, no big deal. We get to have a conversation. You get to listen to me and I get to listen to your questions. And then, I hope that in another setting, I get to listen to you instead and ask the questions.
My actual student question is, David Reyes asked, what was it like in the field, and was there a brotherhood that was formed?
Yes. So it's like anything else in life. You just remember the good things, right? I remember like sometimes I'll be talking to some of my friends that I serve with, and you're like, man, remember this, remember that. Like, you don't remember that 90% of it was boring. 90% of it was, sucked. Like, I had to carry, heavy backpacks, lots of ammo. You're sweating, you're cold, you're hungry, you're not getting enough sleep, and you're complaining all the time. We are the number one complainers in the world, specifically infantry. Like, we complain about everything. You could give us a hot meal after not eating for like a week, and we'll be like, man, I didn't get any more than that. We're going to find a way to complain all the time. It's comical. But you find the field, though, I loved it because I was outside. I loved it because I was doing something that mattered to me. I had a purpose. Every single day, I knew that my purpose in life was to serve my nation. So like, what grander and better, purpose for me, right? That was my purpose. And you build brotherhood and sisterhood because you have no choice. You're all going through the suck. And that's the thing about the military, is that it sucks a lot. And so you're all going through it, and you band together, and you get to mold as one unit. And in the end, you walk out, you're like, whoa, that was crazy. Like, yeah, couldn't have done it without you. And you start building these friendships that are unbreakable. And that's the cool thing. And then 2 years later, all you remember was like the funny conversations or like the good mission. You forget about all the complaining. And then you tell everyone, like, you should go do that. And then they come back to you like, why did you tell me to do this? This is crazy. You people are all crazy. Like, you don't sleep. You eat this food. And I'm like, yeah, but did you have fun? Yeah, I did. So it's just kind of like that. It's like sports, except not as fun. Sometimes it's more fun though, but.
Rachel would also like to know, was there something special you kept with you for good luck?
Wow, great question. Never had that question in all these years. So no and yes. My first tour, I think, like, I guess I had like a picture of like, my family. But I think I was in country. I'd been in country a couple of weeks, my first tour in Afghanistan, and I just got to my new base. And the first morning that I woke up there, it was 6 a.m. in the morning, and I went outside to go to the toilet. And we didn't have, we had like the toilets, right? But then you had buckets. I hope I'm not giving too much information. It's in the book. If you want to read it, it's more interesting in the book. I can't really go. I don't want to go too deep here. Anyway, and I was going to the bathroom, and there's a guy next to me, and we had a canopy net on top to sort of protect us, I guess. And a sniper shot at us, and the bullet went right by my head, and I heard the zoop, and then it hit in front of me. So I had never been shot at in my life prior. So that was very shocking. I didn't know how to react. I was also peeing, so this didn't help the situation. And so the only thing that came to my mind, which tells you how weird I am, was like, oh, I gotta pick up the ricochet. I wanted to pick up the bullet. And this guy next to me is screaming and running inside, getting shot at. And I'm trying to pick up this bullet, and I did. And I eventually picked it up, and then I kept it in my body, like on my body for the rest of the tour, as like a memento and a reminder of how like scary and dangerous, even waking up to go pee can potentially get you killed in this environment. So like, you need to be really on your game at all times. Unfortunately, apparently, that round was deemed as like ammunition when I was trying to come back to the States, and the MPs took it and they just threw it away. I was so pissed, but I had a picture of it. So that was my good luck charm, my first tour. And the second tour, it was my running shoes. I was a big runner. I was end up being about a 4 miler. So like running was my life in the military. It really got me to where I got a lot of respect, because people are like, oh, if you can run that fast for 2 miles, like you must be able to do everything, which is comical again. But my running shoes, and it's so funny because on August 7th, I was supposed to go for a 10-mile run in Jalalabad around the airfield. And I woke up that morning and decided to say, nah, I'm not going to do it. and I took the day off. I was like, I'll run tomorrow. And the following day, things changed. And so we had to, fly out for that mission. And to this day, I can't run like I used to run. So my first true love of running was taken away from me because of my injuries to my leg. And so it's one of those things that it's a reminder in my personal life today, which is if you're supposed to be doing something, don't find an excuse not to do it. Go do it, because you never know if that thing could be taken away from you tomorrow. And it was for me, but it's guided me in the right direction for the rest of my life.
So as you were saying earlier, you grew up in France, you grew up in France, and so you speak French as well as English. How has being bilingual affected your career in the military?
Well, it was good. I got extra money. So I like that, and everybody will like that. I took the test, and really it did not affect my military career to an extent as a warfighter. It affected my career when I went to work for the government in the clandestine sector. It's in the spy world. Because of my test grades and the way I look, I could just blend into different places. I could change languages. And so it helped me be able to read documents and communicate with other people around the world that I need to communicate with. So bilingual was a very, very good thing. I should have been trilingual. I didn't tell you that, I guess, in the story. I lived in Spain for 1.5 years when I was 4 to 5.5. And I was fluent in Spanish, but I lost it over the years. So trilingual would have been a heck of a lot better. And every year I'm like, I'm going to go and learn Spanish again. And then there's always something, that comes up. So I need to do that.
What was your favorite memory of being in the Army?
Being deployed, to be honest with you. I think my favorite memory was my first tour, and just the fact that every single day I knew what I was doing, and I didn't have to worry about what I was going to do over the weekend, what I was going to eat, because it told me what to eat. We ate what was there. But I got to be around my best friends and people that became some of my best friends, and we got to go fight and live together. And, it was fun. We always say that between ourselves, it's the greatest time in your life, the biggest adrenaline rush you'll ever get that can turn into the worst moment ever, in a split second. And that's war. And the fun part is being around the people that you are, that become your family and that you come to love so much and you're willing to, die for. The bad part is the war aspect and the consequences, whether it's the enemy, killing one of your friends or injuring one of your friends, or whether it's civilians, being caught in the middle, right? And we saw some pretty terrible things out there that, you just can't forget. But I'll tell you this, and this is just me. I've never lost a second of sleep for the enemy. So I've had never. So, I was fully committed to the mission, and I understand what we were doing. We treated the enemy with respect. They fought us, we fought them, and that was the business of the day. But I lost sleep for my friends who didn't come home.
Do you still have any close friends from your time in service?
Oh, yeah, plenty. Yeah, we always texting, and I was lucky. My best friend, we've known each other since high school. We both went to Maryland, and we both joined the Army. He was 6 months before me, and we ended up in the exact same place, exact same time. Completely random in Afghanistan, our first tour. There was 2 lieutenants. It was him and I in this tiny little combat outpost in the middle of nowhere. Didn't plan this. It was jackpot, to the point where our commanding officer was like, there's 2 of you now? When I arrived, he couldn't believe it. He thought we somehow done some drug deal on the side and made it happen. It's like, no, it was very, very random. And he was the best man at my wedding. I was FaceTiming him yesterday. He's still in. He's at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. I have a lot of my friends, I served with were at my wedding or part of my wedding. And it's a constant. It's an unbreakable bond.
So I remember you were telling us, after you went to college and did track, you enlisted in the military. Did you want to do something in the military specific that you didn't get to do because it's the military and they choose what you get to do?
No, I got to do what I wanted to do. It's great because this whole track and field thing really played a good part. So when I went to officer candidate school, I know, John, I'm telling you, this is good stories here. When I went to officer candidate school, you go through a 6-week assessment phase where everybody competes against each other. And, through academics, through physical activities, through, strategy sessions and things like that, right? And then at the end of the 6 weeks, it's an order of merit list. And so, 1 through, I think we had 215 people, and they had only X amount of jobs, right? So like they had 10 infantry slots for that class. They had like 2 police MP, like 1 engineer, things like that, 1 combat aviation. Sometimes they have none for those. And so like, if you're number 1 in the order of merit list, you get to choose whatever you want. And, I had good grades. And I had the highest PT score in the company. And so for the push-up, run, and, all that good stuff, and sit-ups, I had the highest, and the obstacle course. So I was number 2 in the OML. And so I got to choose infantry, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on the ground, boots on the ground. I wanted to go fight. And so it was great. Now I had a friend, Sternke, that was like number 130. And I was laughing because he was sweating. He wanted infantry so bad. And I used to tell him, like, man, told you should have ran harder. Should have ran harder. I was behind him. I was kind of being a bad friend because, here goes number 8, slot number 9, slot number 10. He got the last slot. So he got lucky. But I was giving him a lot of crap.
In your time, like in the Army, when you guys like were having your free time, did you guys ever play any type of pranks on each other?
So, yes, of course. I will not share some of those pranks that were played. But they played a prank that was not a prank to me that made me very angry, and they paid for it. That's my team, and they paid for it dearly when we went back to Colorado. Is they cut the wires inside of the treadmill. So obviously I was a runner. And so I forced my team, even in Afghanistan, even though we climbed mountains every day, I still told them to PT, and I told them we had 1 treadmill, and I told them to go on a treadmill. I want everybody to spend an hour on a treadmill every week, right? So you could break it up in 15-minute session, didn't care, you had 1 hour. And they hated a treadmill, possibly because it's 120 degrees outside, and we're walking up and down. They didn't figure out, what the hell do I need to go run? But so they cut the wires, and they killed the treadmill. I'll never forget that. I was so angry. And I told them, I said, I don't know who did this, but I know it's all of you. You're all guilty. And I said, when we get back to Colorado, you'll see how this is, what's going to happen. And so when we came back, I had them run up and down mountains. We went up and down, run backwards. We were doing 400-meter repeats and 600-meter repeats on the track. I had them do things they never wanted to do. And one of them came and was like, all right, we got it, sir. I was like, no, we're going to do this until they tell me to leave this job. And so that was their punishment. But that was their prank. Another prank is they glued my Nutella. I love Nutella. I'm addicted to Nutella. And they took the Gorilla Glue and they glued the lid on my Nutella. They went into my room and glued the glue on my Nutella. And so I realized quickly, they glued my lid. So they all were waiting for me, like, ooh, what's he going to do? So I took a knife and I opened the lid, made a hole in the lid and covered the, the Nutella. And I still had my Nutella, and I came out. I didn't say a word to them, as if it never happened. And so they were very, very disappointed that my reaction wasn't like, what, And then they went in and they saw what I did, and they're like, oh, and they came back, sir, we glued your Nutella, lid on Nutella. I'm like, yeah, good job, geniuses. Congratulations. You glued my, So like little pranks like that. A bad one is they put I think a banana in the previous lieutenant's like camelback, like in his water, right? And he, I guess, never cleaned that thing, and he had a banana tasting water that for like 3 weeks. That would have drove me crazy. And to this day, I asked Salinas, I'm like, did you not taste the difference? He's like, dude, I couldn't taste anything in Afghanistan. It was so hot that I could drink anything. So I told him, I was like, that is not an excuse, my friend. So maybe these are a couple of good examples of some pranks we played on each other.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to meet with us. For the last question I have is, in retrospect, how do you feel about your time in service, and did your time influence like your views on the military or the United States?
I feel so blessed and grateful that this country gave me an opportunity to put on its uniform, wear its colors, and represent our nation. And most importantly, I'm super deeply honored that I had the opportunity to lead men and women in combat and be led in combat. It's the greatest honor. It's made me internally grateful and and it's sort of the biggest advocate for our military. I come from nothing. I was an immigrant. Like I said, I didn't have any money. I paid myself through school. I had $25,000 worth of debts when I graduated college. The Army gave me, through a partnership with USAA, a 1% loan to pay off my debt. Came out of my direct paycheck. It gave me opportunities to understand, how to be an adult early on, and forced me to live a specific life. And because of what I've learned and the lessons I've learned in serving in the nation, in our nation's military, the leadership, the requirements, the integrity, the work ethic, the foundation I gained, it's transitioned into, what I'm doing today. And now, I'm buying my fourth home in Dallas here in the next couple of months, working for one of the top companies in the world, work for some of the top companies in the world. And that's because of the lessons I learned in the military, and really the mindset of never quit. Don't be scared of the outcomes. Don't be scared to fail. Failing is a good thing because it teaches you how to learn faster. Just don't fail twice at the same thing. And that's things that I've learned really quick in my life. And it's also taught me, to go out and do what I believe in and challenge myself. So super grateful for what the military has done for me, but it's not for everyone. That I want to put that out there. So this is not supposed to be a military recruiting video. It is not for everyone. You need to make your own decision, understand what the opportunity is for you.
If you could do it all again in a heartbeat, would you do it?
100%. I would just obviously try to change the outcome of August 8, 2012, but I would go through all the good and the bad, the years in the hospitals. I've had 34 surgeries, over the years. Has had the last one this past Thanksgiving week. The pain, I would do it all over again because I am who I am today because of those experiences. Obviously, the only thing I try to change is trying to bring my friends home. But yeah, I would. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very grateful and humbled for this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. These are obviously just my thoughts. But in my story, there are many, many, many heroes and people that picked me up. And when I was going through some really tough times, when I made bad decisions, everybody's a human being, right? And so we all have something to learn from each other. The thing I would say to every single student is share your experiences, open up. It's okay to be vulnerable. If something is keeping you up at night or you feel uncomfortable, share with someone. I held on to some really dark thoughts and I almost, led me to suicide. And because I was able to open up and have a conversation with some peers and friends, I was able to let those demons out and find help. And so it doesn't matter if you're the toughest of the toughest, quarterback of the football team or cheerleader, head of the chess team. It does not matter. We all have a story. We all have feelings. We're all human beings, but we need to share and we need to learn from each other. So I hope, my experiences can help someone. And I look forward to hearing about your experiences, hopefully in the future.
I think that you'll all join me in thanking Captain Groberg for taking the time from his very busy schedule to be with us today. It was an honor and a privilege to have him with us. As always, there are a lot of people to thank for putting this program together. 21 years of doing this doesn't happen by accident, especially this year. I owe a great debt of thanks to the King teachers and administration, especially those teachers in the King Social Science Department, and especially Jalen Barnard, our operations manager, who was beyond determined that we'd get this done this year. Every time we discussed the possibility of not doing this, she was adamant that we should continue to figure out what to do. And more than anybody, she is responsible for the program that you saw today. I am thankful to the Riverside Unified District Communication Department for their work in putting this presentation together for us. I'm thankful to our school board, our RUSD leadership, and Superintendent Dave Hansen for their unwavering support over the years, helping us move on with the project. I'm thankful for our various sponsors, our PTSA, our alumni parents who have worked so hard, our senior committee. I'm thankful to the class of 2021 and of course the class of 2022. I'm thankful for my family and their unwavering support in all of this. My wife, Nanette, who has always been so supportive of the project and what it stands for. My 3 boys, one of which is currently serving in the 25th Division of the United States Army in Hawaii. My mom, who just turned 94, who is constantly asking about the project and giving us support. My brother, my sister, and my extended family, I am thankful to all of them. I'm thankful that King High School Remembers also gives me every year a chance to honor my dad, James Corona, who served in World War II. And it's my dad's memory that continues to push me forward in keeping the project relevant. I'm thankful to all the veterans who have been with us in the past and who I know will be with us into the future. What our veterans have done with their participation is to serve our students, serve our communities, and have continued to serve their country. They've given us a picture of a better version of ourselves. This has always been a partnership between those veterans and King High School. And I say to you students watching today, they've helped make you part of that partnership. You are the future that these people serve for. You owe them the very best you can give your country, your community, and yourself. There's more to the presentation, so don't touch that dial. Thank you for taking part today, and remember, at King High School, we remember.
Thank you.